All right, welcome back. This is lesson 2 of 5 for Introduction to the Incident Command System, or ICS 100. Today we're going to unpack the 14 NIMS Management Characteristics. This unit presents the National Incident Management System, NIMS, Management Characteristics. These are the backbone of the incident command system. Why does it matter? Well, each one of these characteristics solves a problem that's been seen during real-world emergencies. Understanding them helps you know how to fit into the structure and communicate effectively on scene. ICS works by giving us structure. Emergencies are chaotic, but the ICS helps manage resources, tasks, and decisions so we can act fast and safely. For example, as an EMT, you might arrive first, but you're only part of the puzzle. ICS makes sure you plug into that system where everyone knows their role. On this slide, we'll watch a video, and we'll talk about it next. That video gave us a big picture look. Now let's break down each characteristic with EMT specific content. We'll link the video below in the video description, but if you can't watch it, it's not a problem. Ever heard somebody say code 3 and another person say hot response or priority 1? Terminology confusion slows things down and puts people at risk. ICS uses standard, plain language so everyone is on the same page, no matter what jurisdiction or department they come from. So ask yourself, what are some terms you've heard that could mean different things to different agencies? Common terminology is going to be our first piece. The Incident Command System, or ICS, establishes common terminology that allows different incident management and support organizations to work together across a wide variety of emergency functions and hazard scenarios. This common terminology covers the following: organizational functions, resource descriptions, and incident facilities. During an incident, communications should use common terms. Organizations should avoid radio codes, agency-specific codes, acronyms, or other jargon that might be confusing. Usage of these types of codes may cause confusion or possibly compromise life safety due to a misunderstanding or misinterpretation. ICS scales with the incident. A simple call might need just a few responders. A major disaster grows the structure but still follows the same framework. Common terminology. So think about this as EMTs, whether you're treating one patient or 20. Your role fits into this modular structure. Think about how you would ask for resources. Think about how you would communicate with other people as you arrive on scene. Think about this for yourself. Even if you use codes on a daily basis and they're very familiar to you and everyone in your organization, why should you use common terminology during an incident response? We don't just run around putting out fires, literally and figuratively. ICS sets clear goals and priorities so everyone is working towards the same outcome. Common terminology is a big piece of that. The Incident Command System, ICS, organizational structure develops in a modern fashion based on the incident size and complexity. The responsibility for the establishment and expansion of the ICS modular organization rests with the incident commander. And all of this is what we will come to learn as modular organization. As the incident grows, more complex, the ICS organization may expand as functional responsibilities are delegated. And then we'll have the Incident Action Plan, or IAP, which is the game plan. And even in small incidents, writing down objectives and giving assignments for this modular organization ensures nothing is missed. Management by objectives. The incident commander, or unified command, which we'll discuss later, establishes incident objectives that drive incident operations. Management by objectives includes the following: establishing specific, measurable incident objectives, identifying strategies, tactics, tasks, and activities to achieve those objectives, developing and issuing assignments, plans, procedures, and protocols to accomplish the identified tasks, and documenting results for the incident objectives. So think about this. You're first on scene of a large brush fire threatening homes. So what do? You form a group and identify 4 items that need to go into your IAP. So now we'll go around the room and we'll hear what you came up with. What actions were prioritized? What was the communication plan? And if you're just watching this online, feel free to answer this question in the comments and let's have a discussion there. Incident action planning. Incident action planning guides effective incident management activities. An incident action plan, or IAP as we know it, is a concise, coherent means of capturing and communicating overall incident priorities, objectives, strategies, tactics, and assignments in the context of both operational and support activities. The IAP should focus on addressing the needs of future time frames, called operational periods. To be effective, the IAP should cover a specified time frame, be proactive, specify the incident objectives, state the activities that need to be completed, assign responsibilities to people, identify the needed resources, both now and possibly in the future, and specify communication protocols. For smaller, less complex incidents, the IAP may be oral or written, but should consider these components. Except for hazardous materials incidents, which require a written IAP, FEMA has developed a series of ICS forms for use in developing that IAP that may be helpful. We'll link these, but for easy reference, if you're interested, we do have an ICS 100 cheat sheet. And in that cheat sheet, one of the sections will quickly reference which forms are needed for what types of incidents and what types of scenarios. So now we're going to do an incident action plan activity. This is to help you illustrate how to develop an IAP. So in groups, identify 4 items you would include in an incident action plan for the severe weather scenario described below. Record these 4 IAP items on a piece of paper, and then we will select a spokesperson to report back to the class. They will share your answers in a couple minutes. This activity should take 10 minutes. If you're playing around along at home and you don't have a group, go ahead and take some time, pause this video, think about some of these things, and throw them into the comments. Let's have a discussion there. So here's the scenario. Continuing severe weather is causing widespread damage. There are multiple impacts in the community. Vehicle movement is constrained. Some people are stranded and are in need of assistance. There have been impacts on communications and power, and some structures are impacted as well. 911 operators are receiving conflicting reports about a number of life safety needs, including some weather-related injuries and an unverified report of the structural collapse of an assisted living facility. And so think about this scenario. What are 4 items you would include in your IAP? Write those down. Everything is tracked carefully: people, supplies, vehicles. This helps us know what's available, where it is, who's responsible for it. And all of that is part of what we would call manageable span of control. Depending on your role within the Incident Command System or ICS structure, you may be asked to manage the activities of others. You may be asked to manage specific resources. Span of control refers to the number of individuals or resources that one supervisor can manage effectively during an incident. The optimal span of control is 1 supervisor to 5 subordinates. However, effective incident management may require ratios to significantly differ from this. This ratio is a guideline. Incident personnel should use their best judgment to determine the appropriate ratio for an incident, depending on a lot of things, including the experience of the people being assigned to manage others. So now let's have a discussion about manageable span of control. What are some examples of when span of control is most critical? Think about that. And if you're playing along at home, answer it in the comments. Incident facilities and locations are important too. Depending upon the incident size and complexity, various types of support facilities may be established by Incident Command. These designated facilities can include things like the Incident Command Post or ICP, Incident Base, staging areas and camps, mass casualty triage areas, point of distribution for various supplies, and emergency shelters. Someone is usually going to be in charge of these things from the start, but that person may change. And so we'll follow the framework that we have to understand who is responsible for all of these pieces. Resource management is an important component of this. Comprehensive resource management describes standard mechanisms to identify requirements, order and acquire items, mobilize, track and report, demobilize and reimburse and restock the resources that you used, which would include personnel, teams, facilities, as well as equipment and supplies. And so all of that helps us be prepared for the next incident, which is why the diagram here is in a circle, so that we can reestablish our baseline after we've used and deployed resources. So think about it for a second. Why is comprehensive resource management important during an incident? Incident communications are facilitated through the development and use of common communications plans and interoperable communication processes and systems that include voice and data links, among others. Integrated communications are necessary to maintain connectivity, achieve situational awareness, and facilitate information sharing. This is a major component of mutual aid plans and something that definitely needs to be planned well in advance, because communication systems that are not designed for interoperability are typically not very useful during an incident, particularly when mutual aid requires that different departments talk to each other. And so all of these things need to be built ahead of time. So think about it for yourself. What are some examples of what integrated communications may look like for various scenarios that you can think of in environments that you are familiar with? So now we'll talk about the establishment and then transfer of command. The command function should be clearly established at the beginning of an incident. The jurisdiction or organization with primary responsibility for the incident designates the incident commander and the process for transferring command. Transfer of command may occur during the course of an incident. When command is transferred, the process should include a briefing that captures all essential information for continuing safe and effective operations. So think about it for yourself. What are some reasons that command might be transferred? And so we have unified command as part of this hierarchy within ICS. In a unified command, there is no single commander. Instead, the unified command manages the incident through jointly approved objectives. Unified command allows agencies with different legal, geographic, and functional responsibilities to work together effectively without affecting individual agency authority, responsibility, or accountability. Unified command is typically established when no single jurisdiction, agency, or organization has the authority and/or resources to manage the incident on its own. And so from that, we have this chain of command, which is an orderly line that details how authority flows through the hierarchy of the incident management organization. Chain of command allows an incident commander to direct and control the actions of all personnel on the incident for a unified objective, and avoids confusion by requiring that orders flow from supervisors. Most of us already work in a system that has some sort of chain of command. But if this is not something you're familiar with, this is definitely something you should learn and come to appreciate when it comes to the incident command system. Unity of command is super important as well. While chain of command relates to the overall hierarchy of the organization, unity of command deals with the fact that all individuals have a single designated supervisor that they report to. Based on the principle of unity of command, you will report to only one incident command system supervisor and receive work assignments from only that one ICS supervisor. When you're assigned to an incident, you no longer report directly to your day-to-day supervisor. You now fit into this system. Accountability is important as well. Effective accountability during incident operations is essential. As part of the incident command system, you will need to abide by agency policies and guidelines and any applicable local, tribal, state, or federal rules and regulations. There are several principles you will need to adhere to. Check-in and check-out. All responders must report in to receive an assignment, and checking out at the end of their shift or assigned time or task is just as critical as checking in. Incident action planning. Response operations must be coordinated as outlined in the incident action plan. Unity of command. Each individual will be assigned to only one supervisor. Personal responsibility. ICS relies on each individual taking personal accountability for his or her own actions. Span of control. Supervisors must be able to adequately supervise and control their subordinates, as well as communicate with and manage all resources under their supervision. And finally, resource tracking. Supervisors must record and report resource status changes as they occur. Accountability starts as soon as a resource is requested through the time that the resource returns to its home base safely. So think about these things. We talked about just about all of these in some component or another. But as you can imagine, there's a process, whether paperwork or digitally, to make sure that every person is accountable for all of these components. So now we'll talk a little bit about dispatch and deployment. Resources should be deployed only when requested or when dispatched by an appropriate authority through an established resource management system. Resources not requested should refrain from self-dispatching to avoid overburdening the incident command. This should hopefully make a lot of sense, but most of us first responders will especially on the medical side, will remember a time where somebody stopped to aid for a car accident, identifying themselves as a nurse or something like that, and being totally unprepared otherwise, from a safety perspective, from an equipment perspective, and otherwise. And so it's important for us to understand what that would do to an organized incident command system if one or many people showed up without being asked, without proper equipment, without anyone knowing they were coming, and not really prepared to fit into the system otherwise. So now we'll do a quick activity on your own for dispatch and deployment. Review the scenario and discussion question presented in the student manual. Be prepared to share your answer in 5 minutes. Here's the scenario. Rosa is an off-duty certified emergency medical technician who lives near the scene of a major structural collapse that has occurred in a busy shopping center. The media are reporting that there are injured people wandering around the parking area who need immediate medical attention. What should Rosa do? If you're watching this online, tell us what you think Rosa should do in the comments, and let's discuss. Pause here if you need more time. Personnel should not arrive at an incident without being requested or dispatched. It can create confusion and safety risks, overwhelm command with untracked and untraceable resources, complicate accountability and coordination, and disrupt resource management and planning. Only officially dispatched personnel are integrated into the ICS structure, ensuring safety, efficiency, and clear communication. So now for a little on information and intelligence management. Information and intelligence are important in the incident command system. Incident management must establish a process for gathering, analyzing, assessing, sharing, and managing incident-related information and intelligence. In NIMS, intelligence refers exclusively to threat-related information developed by law enforcement, medical surveillance, and other investigative organizations. So think about it for yourself. What are some examples of sources where you can find and gather information and intelligence regarding your incident? Think about things like 911 call data or dispatch logs, eyewitness accounts or field observations, law enforcement reports or surveillance footage, weather services like the National Weather Service, aerial reconnaissance or drone footage, public health surveillance data, hospitals and EMS reports, social media monitoring for public sentiment or photo and video updates, hazmat or lab analyses from samples collected in the field, GIS and mapping systems, pre-incident plans, facility maps, all of these good things. These sources help establish situational awareness and track the trend of your incident. This helps guide decision making and support a coordinated response ultimately. So congrats, you've completed the second unit of the National Incident Management System, NIMS, Management Characteristics lesson. We talked about a lot of things like common terminology, modular organization, management by objectives, incident action planning, manageable span of control, and many more. If you have any questions, please leave those for us in the comments. A few more videos left in this series. We'll see you there. So next up will be Lesson 3, ICS Functional Areas and Command Staff Roles. Now that you've got a handle on the 14 NIMS management characteristics, it's time to dive deeper into how ICS is structured on scene. So in the next video, we'll cover the 5 major functional areas of ICS, who the incident commander is and what they do, the key roles of command staff, which include public information officers, safety officers, and liaison officers. And whether you're responding to a house fire or mass casualty incident or working on a big event, understanding these roles will help you fit into the system and ultimately stay safe. Do us a favor if you're watching this online and like and subscribe so you don't miss this and future videos. Drop a comment for us below if you have one. And if you're already thinking about how to refresh and manage all of this wonderful information that we're sharing with you, we do have an ICS 100 cheat sheet that a lot of people love to keep in their duty bag so that they can pull it out from time to time and just refresh a couple basics. See you in the next video.